The annual Anderson Technology Gala was in full swing, crystal chandeliers casting a soft glow over Silicon Valley's elite as they mingled in their designer evening wear. I stood near one of the ornate pillars, watching my sister Sophia hold court among a group of admiring executives. "The merger will transform the entire industry," she announced, gesturing with her champagne flute. "Once Anderson Tech acquires Sterling Industries, we'll dominate the market. My team has been working on this deal for months." I took a sip of my sparkling water, knowing exactly how long her team had actually been working on the merger, and exactly why it was doomed to fail tomorrow morning. "Emma," my mother's sharp voice cut through my thoughts. "Stop lurking in the corners. It's embarrassing." I stepped forward, though I knew what was coming. These technology galas always followed the same script. Sophia's achievements would be praised while my career choices would be subtly, or not so subtly, criticized. "Sophia was just telling us about the Sterling merger," my mother said, beaming with pride. 32 years old and already vice president of acquisitions. "We always knew she would do great things." "Unlike some people," my father added, giving me a pointed look. At 58, Richard Anderson still commanded attention in any room, though his perfectly tailored tuxedo couldn't quite hide the strain of recent months. Not that he'd ever admit Anderson Tech was struggling. "Emma's still doing that startup thing," Sophia said with a dismissive wave. "What is it again?" "Some kind of software company." "Nexus Technologies," I supplied quietly. "We develop advanced cybersecurity solutions." "Right," Sophia smirked. "Playing with computers in a garage somewhere." If she only knew that somewhere was actually the top 5 floors of the city's most prestigious office building. But I kept that to myself, just as I'd kept quiet about a lot of things over the past 3 years. "I don't understand why you waste your time with that small business nonsense," my mother sighed, adjusting her diamond necklace. "You had such a promising future at Anderson Tech. You could have been in management by now." I suppressed a smile, thinking of the documents waiting in my office. Documents that would reveal exactly who was really in management now. Speaking of management, my father interjected, "Sophia's merger deal is going to make history. The largest acquisition in Anderson Tech's history, nearly $4 billion. And the contracts are being signed tomorrow morning," Sophia added triumphantly. 10 a.m. sharp. Every major news outlet will be there." I checked my watch, an intentionally modest timepiece that masked the fact that I could buy every piece of jewelry in this room without blinking. "I should actually head out. I have an early meeting tomorrow." "Oh," Sophia's perfectly shaped eyebrows rose. "Finally landed a real client." "Something like that." "Well, don't let us keep you from your little startup," she laughed. "Some of us have billion-dollar deals to close tomorrow." As I turned to leave, I heard my mother's stage whisper, "She just works at some startup." It's rather embarrassing, really. I made my way to the exit, nodding politely to various tech executives who had no idea that the woman they were dismissing as Richard's other daughter was actually the anonymous CEO they'd been desperately trying to meet for months. Outside, my driver held the door of a modest sedan, not the Bentley I usually use, but part of the careful image I maintained around my family. As we pulled away from the gala, I finally allowed myself to relax. "Home, Miss Collins?" Thomas asked, using the name I was known by in the business world. "The office first," I replied, pulling out my phone. "I need to review everything for tomorrow's meeting." A message from Marcus, my chief operating officer, was waiting. "All set for tomorrow. Anderson Tech's board has no idea what's coming." I smiled, thinking about the carefully orchestrated plan that would unfold in less than 12 hours. For 3 years, I'd been building Nexus Technologies in secret, using a series of shell companies to hide my identity as founder and CEO. While my family dismissed me as a small-time entrepreneur, I created one of the most powerful cybersecurity firms in the world. My phone buzzed again, this time with a family group text from my mother. "Sophia's big day tomorrow. Everyone be sure to watch the morning news coverage of the Sterling merger signing." The Sterling merger. I closed my eyes, remembering the day 3 years ago when I'd walked away from Anderson Tech. I'd seen the warning signs even then, the outdated systems, the vulnerable infrastructure, the over-reliance on old technology. I tried to tell them, to convince them we needed to modernize. "You're just jealous of your sister's success," my father had said dismissively. "Leave the real business decisions to those who understand them." So I did. I left Anderson Tech and started my own company, determined to build something better, something that would revolutionize cybersecurity while my family clung to their outdated methods. What they didn't know was that Sterling Industries wasn't signing a merger agreement tomorrow. They were signing a takeover by Nexus Technologies. The struggling company they thought was worth $4 billion was actually worth less than half that, thanks to devastating security vulnerabilities that my team had discovered months ago. Vulnerabilities that Anderson Tech's due diligence had completely missed. At my office, the real one, not the small space I maintained for family visits, I reviewed the final details. The corner office occupied the entire top floor, its floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city, a far cry from the garage startup my sister imagined. "Miss Collins?" My assistant Sarah appeared at the door. "The final reports are ready for tomorrow's meeting." I took the folder, scanning the contents one last time. Everything was there: the security audit revealing Sterling's weaknesses, the true valuation showing Anderson Tech was drastically overpaying, and most importantly, the proof that my sister's brilliant merger strategy was built on fundamentally flawed assumptions. "Has the press release been prepared?" I asked. "Ready to go out the moment you give the word," Sarah confirmed. "Though, are you sure you want to do this? They're still your family." I walked to the window, looking out at the city where I'd built my empire while my family continued to underestimate me. They stopped treating me like family the moment I chose my own path. Tomorrow they'll learn that sometimes the quietest person in the room is the one you should watch most carefully. "Your sister's going to be humiliated," Sarah said softly. "Yes," I agreed, thinking of years of condescension and mockery. "But maybe that's what it takes to learn that success doesn't always look the way you expect it to." My phone buzzed one final time. Another message from Marcus. "Board members are confirmed for 9 a.m. Your family won't know what hit them." I sat down at my desk, opening my laptop to review the statement I would make tomorrow. The words that would reveal that the daughter they dismissed as an embarrassment had built something far more valuable than they could imagine. On my screen, the latest stock analysis showed Anderson Tech's vulnerability. They were betting everything on this merger, stretching their resources to the breaking point. They needed Sterling Industries to save them from years of technological stagnation. Instead, they were about to discover that their salvation, or their downfall, rested in the hands of the daughter they'd never taken seriously. The next morning, Anderson Tech's main conference room buzzed with anticipation. Camera crews from major networks had set up their equipment, ready to broadcast what everyone thought would be a straightforward merger signing. I stood in my private office across the street, watching the scene unfold through floor-to-ceiling windows. My Armani suit, a far cry from the intentionally modest clothes I wore to family functions, felt like armor. "They're all there," Marcus reported, appearing at my door. "Your sister's giving pre-signing interviews about her brilliant strategy. Your father's already made 3 speeches about the Anderson legacy." I smiled, adjusting my cuffs. "And Sterling Industries CEO. Looking nervous. He knows what's coming." Of course he did. We'd informed Sterling's board about their security vulnerabilities weeks ago, offering them a choice: face public exposure of their weaknesses or agree to a takeover by Nexus Technologies. They'd chosen survival. "Miss Collins," Sarah appeared with a tablet. "The press release is ready, and your mother just arrived at Anderson Tech. She's wearing celebration pearls." I checked my watch. 9:45 a.m. time to go. Let's show my family what a little startup can do. The walk across the street felt like crossing a threshold between two worlds. In one, I was Emma Anderson, the disappointing daughter who just works at some startup. In the other, I was Catherine Collins, the enigmatic CEO of Nexus Technologies, one of the most powerful women in Silicon Valley. Through the glass walls of Anderson Tech's lobby, I could see reporters clustered around Sophia as she detailed her vision for the merged companies. My father stood nearby, basking in reflected glory, while my mother watched adoringly. I stepped into the elevator, Marcus and Sarah flanking me with briefcases containing the real merger documents, the ones that would shatter my family's carefully constructed reality. The conference room doors opened at exactly 9:55 a.m. The buzz of conversation died instantly as I walked in, followed by my executive team. Sophia's interview cut off mid-sentence. "Emma, what are you doing here? This is a private signing." I walked calmly to the head of the table, setting down my briefcase. "Good morning, everyone. Shall we begin?" "Begin?" My father stood up, his face reddening. Emma, this is ridiculous. We're here for the Sterling merger signing. Where is Sterling's CEO? Mr. Chen won't be joining us, I replied, nodding to Sarah, who began distributing folders to the stunned board members. He signed the final paperwork last night. Last night? Sophia's voice rose an octave. That's impossible. I have the merger agreement right here. That agreement is void, I said, watching color drain from my sister's face as she opened the folder in front of her. Sterling Industries has accepted a different offer. My father's hands clenched into fists. What are you talking about? Who could possibly? Nexus Technologies, I cut in smoothly, or more specifically, me. The silence that followed was absolute. Cameras swung in my direction as reporters suddenly realized they were covering a very different story than expected. This is absurd, Sophia finally sputtered. You run a small cybersecurity startup. You couldn't possibly afford. That small startup is worth $12 billion, Sophia. We're the largest cybersecurity firm in the country. I turned to the room's main screen, bringing up Nexus's true financial data. While you were all mocking my career choices, I built something you never saw coming. My mother's celebration pearls clinked against the table as she sank into her chair. But you work from a tiny office downtown. A front, I explained. Nexus Technologies operates in 20 countries. We own this building, actually. And as of last night, we own Sterling Industries. Why? My father's voice cracked. Why go to all this trouble? I met his eyes across the table. 3 years ago, I tried to tell you about Anderson Tech's security vulnerabilities. About how far behind the company was falling. You told me to leave the real business decisions to those who understand them. Well, I did. I gestured to Sarah, who began passing out more documents. These papers detail exactly why Sterling Industries agreed to our takeover. Massive security breaches, outdated infrastructure, millions in hidden losses, all things your due diligence missed, Sophia. My sister's hands trembled as she flipped through the pages. This will destroy us, she whispered. No, I corrected. This will save you. Nexus isn't just taking over Sterling, we're offering to acquire Anderson Tech as well. At a fair price, before the market realizes how vulnerable you really are. The board members leaned forward, suddenly very interested. They'd seen the company's declining numbers, even if they'd been afraid to challenge the Anderson family about it. You can't do this, my father breathed. We're family. Family? I laughed softly. Was it family when you dismissed every idea I brought to the table? When you mocked my career choices? When you called my work embarrassing at every opportunity? I stood up, surveying the room. Anderson Tech has 12 hours to accept our offer. After that, we go public with everything we found. Your choice. Mom, Sophia pleaded, turning to our mother who sat frozen in shock. Do something. But there was nothing she could do, nothing any of them could do. Last night at the gala, I said, my voice carrying to every corner of the suddenly silent room, you called my job embarrassing. You spent years undermining me, belittling my achievements, assuming my silence meant weakness. I walked to the door, then turned back one final time. I want you to remember this moment. Remember that the daughter you dismissed as a failure now holds your company's fate in her hands. The next hour passed in a blur of signatures and legal requirements. Sophia was escorted to her office to collect her things, her perfect composure finally cracking as reality set in. My father avoided my eyes as he surrendered his company keycard. My mother's celebration pearls lay forgotten on the conference table. Later that evening, I stood in my office at Nexus, watching the sun set behind the city skyline. Marcus appeared with a glass of champagne, the same expensive brand my family had been drinking last night while mocking my career. Was it worth it? He asked quietly. All these years of hiding your success. I thought about the decades of condescension, the dismissive comments, the patronizing offers of entry-level positions. Then I thought about the empire I built, the thousands of employees who relied on me, the innovations we created. It wasn't about revenge, I said finally. It was about proving that success doesn't always look the way they think it should. That you don't have to follow their path to build something meaningful. The following year brought changes no one in my family could have predicted. Anderson Tech, under Nexus's leadership, transformed into a cutting-edge technology company. Sophia eventually found a mid-level position at another firm, hopefully having learned the value of humility. My parents, their tech dynasty shattered, stopped hosting their achievement-focused galas. And me? I kept building, growing, expanding, not to prove anything to them anymore, but because I discovered something they never understood. True success isn't about titles or family names or merger announcements. It's about creating something meaningful, something that lasts. These days, when people ask about my path to success, I tell them the truth. Sometimes the best response to those who underestimate you isn't to prove them wrong immediately. It's to build something so magnificent that when they finally realize their mistake, it's already too late to matter.